Welcome back to this episode of RADBMX Builds. I'm Sean, I'm the owner, and this episode's gonna be pretty rad. I've been waiting quite a while for this build because I had to buy the bike, buy the parts. Then I sent the bike off to Ernie's 80s Bike Shop for a full metal restoration and powder coat in the correct GT yellow. And man, it came out so good. I had him do the frame, forks, bars, and seat post, and then I bought a bunch of blue parts so I can have the iconic blue and yellow GT. Let's check it out. This absolute beautiful bike. I've actually been looking for an old school GT race bike for quite some time that I could pull this off with, and it had all of it. The GT bars, the old school frame, the baloney GT stamped rear end, and of course my very favorite forks. So this was it. This was the right bike, and I decided let's do it. Let's do it in yellow. Everyone does some performers like this. I wanted to do a race bike, and I went out and started buying all the parts for it. And before we move on, I need to thank Flite for the pads, Pro Neck for the stem, the seat clamp, and the power disc. And of course, Amy for the grips. Absolutely insane. Flite also supplied the donuts. And then there's some parts from Pork Chop, like the GT seat, chain, brakes, bottom bracket, cranks, and the old school GT crank bolt set, and the Tongi headset. Okay, let's talk about the wheels. These are Bassett wheels with, I believe, Technique hubs. They are sealed bearing. And then I did the yellow tape on the backside, so kind of like the Mongoose Pro Class wheels. And then I want to thank Wes, Mr. Dice Guy, for the RADBMX Builds valve stem caps and brake end, which I think is really cool. It'll be a nice touch on this bike. I really like it. Man, I'm pretty excited, and I can't wait to build this. It just got here in the mail. UPS delivered it, like, no joke, 30 minutes ago. I wasn't gonna build it today, but there's no way I'm gonna sleep tonight if I don't at least start this build. So let's get after it. Okay, real quick before we continue. Progress was already made. I'm gonna show that to you in a moment, but I wanna take a short second to let you know the only way I sell bikes is RADBMXBuilds.com. Do not think that I'm trying to sell a bike or you want a bike on Instagram, TikTok, or any of those other platforms, because I do not do that. I have one single account on Instagram at RAD_BMX_builds. And I have one account on TikTok, RADBMX Builds. I don't have a backup, I don't have any of that stuff, and I do not sell on those. You're only gonna find my stuff for sale at RADBMXBuilds.com, and currently, I have some bikes on the website that are available. So if you want one, you know where to go. Head over there and get yourself some merch, hats, shirts, hoodies. It's hoodie season. Get yourself hooked up, get some swag if you don't want to buy a bike. Okay, check it out. So far what I've done is I got the headset put in there, a nice chrome Tongi headset, and that's beautiful. Then I got the sealed GT bottom bracket set up so we can now get those cranks and stuff on. But that's not the first thing I want to do. I think we're going to put the Pro Neck stem, put that on, put the bars on, then we'll do the seat post clamp and the seat post, and then basically build the upper part of the bike. Then we'll go with wheels, and last we'll put on that crank sprocket power disc. Okay, so far so good. I had a little bit of a problem getting the cups into the headset. I didn't talk about that earlier, but after some finagling, I don't know if it was just a little bit of powder coating on the inside. Sometimes cups are just really hard to get in. Sometimes they're easy. So I don't know. It's just old bike things. But I got them in, no problem. Bottom brackets in, no problem. Now we have the Pro Neck stem on, the handlebars, and the seat post clamp and seat post. So the seat post clamp was pretty tight. And so what you do is you take the bolt out, flip it around to the other side, put a washer in there, tighten it, and then that'll expand the opening on the seat post clamp. Slipped it on, no problem. And then the next problem is powder coated seat posts, because of the added layer of powder coat, are usually pretty tight. And this one was no different. But what I did is I just put a little bit of bearing grease on it to slide it down in there, also prevent it from seizing. And then once it's in place, I'll go ahead and I tighten it down. And I've never had an issue doing that. And it should come out when I want to take it out, if I decide to take it out at some point. I usually don't take my bikes apart once I put them back together, but if I were to sell it, that would need to come out to box it up. But that's where we're at so far. It's looking pretty rad. I'm pretty happy with it. And I think what we're gonna do now is put some grips on, and we're gonna go super old school today. The old Aqua Net, we're gonna put a little spray on there, a little in the grips, and then we're gonna slide them on just like you did back in the 80s. And yes, that's how I do it. I've been doing it forever. I know there's a million products out there I could use, but I've been doing this a very long time and have never had an issue with that. So Aqua Net grips, let's do it. And just like that, they're on, and I went ahead and slid on the Flite GT donuts. They look really good on there. Just, man, there's something about yellow and blue for GT that looks so good. So I still have all of these parts to go. It's not a lot, actually. And the reason I have two rear brake calipers here, both die comps, two different kinds, 890s and MX 1000s, is I want to see which one looks better. This would probably be the more appropriate era brake for the bike. I prefer these, but I'm going to put these on first when it's all ready to go. See which one I like better, which one just seems to fit. We're just going to go with the old Diacomp MX lever, which I'm going to put on now. And then I think we're going to go ahead and move into wheels. So this can kind of be a standing roller, and we can put the brake on, the cable, the bottom spindle, and all of that. So far, looking really good, yellow and blue. And then let's get some parts on there and see what it looks like when it's done. Okay, here it is in mocked up roller status. So we got the wheels on it, and they look really good on there. I'm really happy with that wheel choice. And I decided to go with the MX 1000 because the arm reach on the other ones was too far, didn't line up very well. I kind of knew that was going to happen. So MX 1000 it is. These wheels are fantastic. I love the yellow down inside there. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Looks really good on this bike. Just that balance, you know, the attention to detail on the blue and yellow. So now that we have it mocked up like that, I think we're gonna go ahead and run the brake cable, and then we can start putting on the good stuff like the cranks, all that other stuff. The thing I'm gonna do last is the decals, because I wanna make sure it sits right. Once the sprocket and everything's on there, I wanna make sure that the decal's not too far to the left, being covered by that. So we're gonna do the decals last, but right now, it's looking really good. I put it on the floor, sat on it, got everything adjusted where I want it, and that's the way it's looking. So let's go ahead and finish it off with the rest of these parts so you can see what it's gonna look like. Oh man, she's looking good. And all we have left now are some decals and the stem and bar pad, but I've been standing back looking at it, and I did end up swapping out the pedals for the blue ones. And I'm gonna be real honest, the problem with blues, it's real hard to match blues. Same with golds, it's real hard to match golds. But overall, tell me what you think down below, leave a comment. Do you think it's starting to look pretty rad? Once we get the pads and decals on, I think that's really just gonna pull the colors together so they're not so, I don't know, in contrast with one another, but it's looking pretty sick. Let's wipe it down and then install some decals, and then we'll do a big reveal and you'll see it completed outside in the sunlight. Okay, and don't forget, if you want to buy a bike, RADBMXBuilds.com, bikes, merch, and much more. I hope you really liked the build of this 80s GT Team Series in iconic GT yellow and blue. I'm real happy with it. I plan on hanging on to this bike for a little while, so don't expect to see it on the website right when you see this video. However, bikes are constantly uploaded there. If you like something, buy it. If you don't see quite what you're looking for, make sure you check back, because I'll put bikes up every now and then, and there might be one just for you. So thanks again for watching. Please consider a subscribe, and as always, stay rad.